started there on the right. The oyster house. Good fun. Again, it's one of those things with festivals. There's a lot of them throughout Ireland throughout the summer. Seen as a way of generating income for towns and getting people in to the towns and having a bit of crack, as they say. Primary school there on the right. Kids from the age of 5 to 13 start in school. We started just yet. Normally it started on 9:15, 9:30. And they'll be in there till 3 o'clock. During the summer months, every night they have banquets here. At banquets, people are dressed up, the staff is dressed up in period costumes from the 1400s. The court jesters, the fiddle player and harp player, and big tables, and you go in and sit down and they start bringing you food. Usually start with ribs and then soup and main course, dessert, whatever. But you don't be given any cutlery. So you have to eat the food like you would have back in the 1400s with your hands.
This must be tidal water.
And if you ask for cutlery, you're considered weak. And you could end up being beheaded by the court jesters. You can also nominate some of your group to be beheaded. Or some of the group will be promoted to king and queen, and they can pick someone to be beheaded. It's all good fun, it's all good crack. But that's Dunwire Castle there. And there's a number of castles along this west coast that does that. Bunratty, we'll be passing by Bunratty Castle later on. There are 2 of them there every night, 2 banquets.
That's a big tide.
And then just Cahernane, there's a number of them. It's all come under the term Shannon Heritage there, Robin. It's a little holiday village here on the left. Thatch cottages, you can rent those cottages, base yourself in this area and then explore the area from here. I gave you a question the other day and you all, well, some of you got it anyway. The Galway hooker. Yeah, some of you found out what the Galway hooker was. But for those that didn't, the Galway hooker is a boat. It originated here in Kinvara. And it's a round-hulled boat with a single mast. You'll see them out in the bay here as we go down. But this is where they originated. Some people thought it was the beer. The beer was called after the boat. And throughout the summer months they do hold hooker races there in the bay. But that's them there, those round-hulled boats with the single mast. They're the Galway hookers. This little town, well actually today is Friday, so I'll have a market. It's a market town. They'll have markets, farmers markets, usually either Friday or Saturday. So we're going up the town, if you look, mostly usually on the right hand side here, there's a little side street where you'll have locals with little stalls set up where they'll be selling flowers and jams and honeys and paintings and just all locally produced produce produced by themselves. It's what they call farmers market. They take place in a lot of towns throughout Ireland.
It's a thatched roof.
Donald's chair or whatever that is. There's the market for some of them there on the right. All locally produced.
Free range eggs.
And they come in and sell it then. You'll see the thatched cottages used to some of them. You'll see more of them over the next few days. This Merryman Hotel here on the right, largest area of thatch on a single building in Ireland or England, I reckon. The largest area by volume on the roof. Such a big building, and it goes back down this side street here to the right as well. You see that thatch? It's not very thick compared to the one you saw yesterday. There was two main types of thatching. You had the straw thatch, which was the most common one, it was easiest got. The grow grains, and then they'd use the straw to thatch the roofs. The weather is hot. Very different coloured and multicoloured shells on the snails, quite interesting. And then you have potholers. You guys in the States have different name on them. I can never, I've been told it a million times and I can never remember it. People that explore caves in Ireland are called potholers. And so because limestone is permeable, water seeps down through it. So underneath all these hills, over the years, a series of rivers have formed, which again has cut out caves. So potholers come down here all the time to explore, looking for new caves. You can see walls again going up, straight up over the mountains, or across them. They're those famine walls again. Where people were sent out into workhouses to build those walls just to get them something to do. We have somebody from Boston, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah, well, in a minute on the left-hand side here, you're going to see a sign, Boston. Because there's a little village about 12 kilometres off to your left there, and it's called Boston. So there's a sign here, and then I'm going to turn left. And as I turn left, there's a Boston sign on either side of the bus, so no matter what side you're on, if you want to get a photograph of our sign that says Boston, you will get it. There used to be a television program here called Father Ted. I don't know, about 3 priests who was banished out to an island. One of them was an alcoholic priest. But the house they used is just over there. It's in that parish of Boston. So there's the sign, first sign for Boston. That's where the word feck came from as well, because that priest used to be always saying feck and drink, feck. And kids grabbed onto it because it's the polite way of saying the other F word. And so kids were allowed to use the feck. So you'd have kids coming up to you and saying you're a feckin' Aegis. So that's where that sort of came from again. I know somebody got a number plate with feckin' Aegis on it, but that's what it is. You'll see t-shirts, fridge magnets and all sorts of things that says feckin' Aegis, but that's where it kind of came from. So I'm going to stop here and pull over onto the right. You're getting out the wrong side. Between two corners, traffic goes both ways. You have to be extremely careful. Alright. But it's a beautiful spot. You can see back into 3 or 4 different counties from here. Galway City over to your right hand side there on 1 or 2 o'clock. And then from the back into where the bus will be, from the back of it, you will see for miles in the County Tipperary area. We're in County Clare here at the moment, which is you have to be extremely careful because of the traffic. And you get a close-up of those dry stone walls here as well. Alright.
machines and they'll temper the chocolate and then they'll make all the handmade truffles, everything the same from to they make in that room. And then the only other machine that I haven't spoken about is the one that looks kind of like a cement mixer. So this is what we use to spray our hazelnuts, our almonds, everything like that. It circles around and we spray our chocolate into it. So that's how we make the chocolate. Only 2% of chocolate factories actually make their own chocolate in the world, and we're in that 2%. So most will get their chocolate in from Belgium or Switzerland, add anything they want to it, and then send it back out. So I'll let you try some of our chocolate now. So the first one I'm going to let you try is our milk chocolate. So for our milk chocolate, we use a Cuban bean. So certain beans have different flavours naturally. So a Cuban bean has a naturally more like caramelly flavours. So that's why it's in all of our milk chocolates. It also is 42%. And the other, so the 42% is the cocoa bean. And then the rest is made up half between the milk percentage and the sugar. So most milk chocolates only actually have around 10% cocoa in it, but we have almost 4 times that.
Did you try chocolate?
Oh no, we didn't try none. This is the first time.
Single church, or maybe 2 or 3, but whereas the monasteries had 4 or 5, in some cases up to 7 churches on the site. For the monasteries, the local kings would provide the land for the church to build their church. But with the abbeys, the local kings provided the funding to build the abbeys. So that one was built by King Cormac O'Brien and his son. And the reason they provided the funding was it gave them a right to be buried within the walls of the abbey. So he's buried in the abbey along with his son. And the reason they done that was because it was widely believed that if you were buried within the walls of an abbey, your soul would go straight to heaven. So it was seen as a sort of a free pass to heaven. Now, no one ever came back to say whether that worked or not. Now, you always knew when the fairies had moved into your fort because one tree always died. So you always had a dead tree. It was usually a white thorn bush or white thorn tree. We used to be able to go up to that abbey with the bus, but you can see the sign there, no buses, to stop us from going up. And it's a cemetery, and there's gravestones in it that you can actually read that dates back from the 1400s right up to the present day. People are actually dying to get into it. But it's still in use as burial grounds, and every Easter Sunday morning at 6 a.m. the local parish priest comes out and he says Mass there every Easter Sunday morning, dawn Mass, 6 a.m. And that's a tradition that's been going on since 12 or 1300s.
Right there.
Still goes on to the present day. But just told me mother that, I don't know, but that was the story he told us. And then of course the leprechauns, they're all part of the same family. The leprechauns, actually their main job was cobblers. So they made shoes for the fairies. But then they also protected the wealth. I reckon underneath all these taverns there was a fortune in gold. So the pot of gold that the leprechauns do have. They also used to make the poaching, the moonshine, and they used to drink a lot of poaching. And I reckon that's why they never grew, because they only drank poaching. If they drank Guinness, they would have grown bigger, because Guinness is good for you. The other side of that is you need to have a lot of Guinness in you or a lot of poaching on you before you actually see a leprechaun. The drunker you are, the more visible they are. That's the remains of another tower house there on the right. One side of it looks okay, the other side is completely gone, as you can see. Again, there were the ruling families in the area that lived in those tower houses, castles. If you look over to the edge of the water, you'll see another tower. You see that one? Yeah. Smaller, round one. It's just out on the edge of the water there on the right. That's the Atlantic Ocean, by the way, leading up into Galway Bay. But that tower is what they call a Martello Tower. And they were built by the British in the 1800s. They were designed by an Italian fella called Martello. That's where they got the name from. And the English had a series of them, between them and signal towers. They had something like 85 of them all around the coast of Ireland. And somebody would be in those at all times. They were manned. Because England was, since the Spanish arrived in the Kinsale in 1601, and even go back further before that, in the 1300s, Robert the Bruce came into Ireland to attack the British. So they were always afraid that they would be attacked by either the French or the Spanish or whoever, and that they would come through Ireland to get them. And so they put those towers all around the coastline to keep an eye out. So the idea was that if some of the guys in those towers saw any strange flotilla ships coming in around the coast, they could signal from one tower to the other, and eventually that message would get back to Dublin Castle, which was the seat of power for the British when they were here. And then they knew something was happening, so they could prepare themselves to send in reinforcements to whichever area they were needed. But that was the idea of those towers. So there's a lot of them all over Ireland, 85 or something like that in total. Some of them still standing. Coming into a little town in a few minutes called Ballyvaughan. You probably will have noticed that there's a lot of towns in Ireland starts with the word Bally. And the reason for that is Bally is the Irish word for town. Originally it would have been Ballia in Gaelic. So B-H-A-I-L-E. So this particular place would have been known as the town of Vaughan, Vaughan. I come from a place called Ballymahan, and the Mahan family were the ruling family in the area, so it was called the town of Mahan. And then again, when the Anglo-Normans anglicised everything, because they couldn't understand a lot of the Irish words. They couldn't pronounce them, so they just changed them and anglicised them. Baya became Bally. Another variation of that is Kill. Kilkenny, for instance, Kildare, Killarney. Kill is the Irish word for church. And that would initially have been spelled C-I-L, because there's no letter K in the Irish or the Gaelic alphabet. So K was never used. So Kilkenny, for instance, was founded by St. Canis back in the 6th century. And so it became known as the Church of Canis, Kilcanis. But then anglicised and made into Kilkenny. But using the letter K in the English alphabet. Same goes with Mac. If you got Mac in your name, with Jim here behind McMullen, my own name is McYoey. So Mac means son of. And if you got an O in your name, it means you're a descendant of. The English variation of that is Fitz, so Fitzgerald, Fitzpatrick. That means son of, or descendant of, descendant of. So this is Ballyvaughan. Three different ways of going to the cliffs. From here, you can go left, which takes you up over the corkscrew, which is just a road that goes round and up and round and up and round and up. Or you can go left again, which takes you around by Round down. But this is the most scenic route. This is the coastal route.
High and dry.
To get to the cliffs.
Donkeys.
Ballyvaughan Harbour there. The tide is out.
Yeah. Looks like a big storm. A lot of rain.
That's the Atlantic Ocean leading up into Galway Bay. So, back to Trevelyan, as I said, that he changed the tax laws. He says that landlords would have to pay a tax for every tenant they had on their estate in order to provide
The other one, it should be all right.
to pay for these grains. So we're still bringing in cheap grains from all over Europe into Ireland. There's the lighthouse
There's the
here.
lighthouse up here.
But of course, the landlords didn't want to be paying more tax, so the easy way of avoiding that was to evict your tenants. So that's what happened at the start of the mass evictions. Some of the good landlords decided to try and help their tenants, so they would pay some of the passageway for them to get out of Ireland using the freight boats, the boats that was bringing in the grains. And so they'd start putting people into those boats to get them away, in some cases just to Liverpool in England maybe, or wherever, just out of Ireland. If you could pay any sort of the passage yourself, you could have got further, like into America or to Canada or wherever. But because people didn't have enough of money to pay full fares, boat owners seized the opportunity to seen it as a way of making money, but the only way they could make it pay was to cram as many people into the boats as they could. So they just packed the boats in, and a lot of people getting on them had diseases, so when they were cramped into those sort of conditions, they were all down in the hull of the boat underneath. They would have been allowed up for 1 hour a day on the deck if the weather permitted. They were stuck down there. The journey to the US or to Canada, depending on the boat, would take anything from 5 to 8 weeks. And up to 40% of the people that got on those boats never made it to the other side. And that's why they became known as the coffin ships. Those big boulders you see lying there around, they call them erratics. They're there since the Ice Age. The water's coming down through the country with ice melted, just planted those rocks there. So they're there for over 14,000 years. I said earlier about limestone being seashells and fossils. And this all been under the sea at one stage. If you look up to the left-hand side, you'll see where the rocks are layered. Each layer of rock there would have probably taken a couple of thousand years to build up at the bottom of the sea before this all popped up. There's an alpaca farm here on the right. Not sure if they're down. Sometimes they're down along the road, sometimes they're back up the back fields. But you might get to see them. Close Killarney, no, there's none of them down
Oh, there they are
along the
down
road
there,
anyway. See them up the back there on the right? You might get some the other side of the place, the village here. Well, I don't think so, because they're way up the back fields there as well, so I think most of them are on this side. They breed them for their wool, obviously, but they also protect sheep. The main predator for a sheep in Ireland is the red fox. That's the only thing really, apart from the household dog. That's the only thing that attacks the sheep. We don't have any wild animals, well, as I already said, unless you're outside of a nightclub in the middle of the night. So when sheep are lambing, they put an alpaca in the field with the sheep. The fox won't go into the field if the alpaca is there. So they use them, as I said, to protect the sheep. Well, we'll attack them, but the fox, clever enough, they won't go into the field. The alpaca's there.
Right here. Right here.
Right there.
This is a very popular area for Irish people to come on vacation. There's a lot to see and do here. The weather is good. You have a lot of beaches here. You have the caves, you have the cliffs, you have the Burren. Lots of people to see and do. Little picnic table set up here on the left-hand side. We already had tea and coffee in the chocolate factory, so. But she said she was leaving out the teapot anyway for us. Have time to stop. We're set up there on the left. To live, because there's nowhere else to live. A lot of people moving out to them brought animals with them, as in sheep. When the men folk got out there, they made themselves boats using light bits of timber covered over with tar or bitumen, or cowhides, anything to make it waterproof. The little boats they made were called currachs. They were anything from 18 to 20 foot long, 3 or 4 foot high. And they used those then to go out on the Atlantic and fish in order to make a living. The women, the wives or girlfriends, whatever, sisters took wool from the sheep and they made them sweaters to keep them warm. That's where the Aran sweater was born. You've heard of the Aran sweater, I'm sure. Some of you have already bought them, probably. For those that don't know, it's a thick, chunky knit wool sweater. Very popular in Ireland now, but that's where they originated. The unique thing about it out there was each family that lived on the islands had their own unique stitch, unique design. And they used that to make all their own sweaters, with using their own designs and unique stitches. The sad part of it was, you know, when those boys were out, the men were out on the Atlantic in those small boats, there's a lot of rogue waves hits in from the Atlantic, particularly down along the west coast, down here. And so if they were hit with a rogue wave, the boat would be upturned and they'd be thrown into the water. And if they were working near land and they could make it to land, they usually ended up drowning. And it could take weeks, maybe months before a body would surface. And the only way they had of identifying which family that body belonged to was through that unique stitch or design on the sweaters.
There's blue one up here.
Yeah, very clear.
That time they would have been all handmade. Most of them nowadays are all mass-produced machines, but there's still a few families out on the islands that still hand-make them. most people going out to the islands today, well, you can visit either of the three, any of the three islands, but most people head for Inishmore, which is the big one. It's the furthest over to the right. The main focal point of that one is a fort that sits on top of the cliffs. The fort is called Dunangus. And the only way you can get out is by ferry, or you can fly out from Connemara. The flight is only 7 minutes from where the airport is out to the islands. Most people go by boat. And you can go from Rossaville, which is in the middle of Connemara, or you can go now that new one that only started last year from Galway City out to Inishmore. And you can also go from this side, which is a place called Doolin, which we'll be seeing later on. You can't bring a car out, so you can only go as a foot passenger. You can bring a bicycle, cycle around the island once you get out there. Or you can hire bikes once you get out there. There's a couple of small companies that have small little 8-seater mini buses which will give you a tour of Inishmore.
Stop right there.
Let me take a picture. Get up.
Crimes would have ranged from petty theft to murder. It's just all at the discretion of the local magistrate or judge.
Oh, you're not going to see it.
Tower house again, just up over your head there. Can't really see it. We'll get up around the corner here. You look back to your left hand side, you'll see it.
That's it.
Again, for one of the ruling families in the area here. When I go around this bend here on the left, you should be able to see it pretty clear there now.
There it is.
That's it there on the left. That's the tower house. Today and tomorrow about festivals. There's a little town we're going to be going around that down here in a few minutes called Lisdoonvarna. And it has a festival every year. But it's one of the longest festivals. For anyone who doesn't fancy to walk up, because it's level on the ground, but it's quite hilly. There's golf carts here which will take you up. So you just you get them outside of the visitor centre. They're not there. You go inside the desk. There's an information desk inside. And just tell her you'd like to go up with the cart, and she'll call them down for you. So they'll bring you up to the top, up to O'Brien's Tower, and then you can have a look around and take photos, whatever you want to do. You get another one to take you back down again. And they're free, but they're there. Just have to look for them, ask for them. And they bring about 6 people at a time. So I will be wrapping up, guys. Apart from the rain, it's going to be quite windy here. At least the views are there, so that's the good thing, you can see them. So we get in here, I'm going to get you tickets. You may be asked for the tickets, you may not, but you have to have them with you. So we get you tickets, and then I get parked up, and you go off on your way. Plenty of time. Yeah, the views are quite good, so not too bad. But they can change very quickly, those views, so as I said, when you're here, go straight up and have a look. At least then you have them seen.
These are the cliffs of Moher. Beautiful. It's about ready to rain.
Chase at them, they'd be so fat they couldn't swim in the water.
Say hi.
Down there is Cornelius O'Brien's homestead. See all the stuff on the wall of the shed? That's stuff that people leave behind in the hope of getting a cure. The well is just there on the right. It's like Cornelius O'Brien's homestead down to the left. That was his place. This obelisk was erected in his honour after he died. An obelisk to Cornelius O'Brien. Controversial in that some say he was a good landlord, some say he wasn't. Some even said that he paid for that himself before he died, so it would be put up after he died. Little town of Liscannor. The man that came from Liscannor was a fella called J.P. Holland, or John Philip Holland. Anyone heard of him? He invented something that you all would have heard of. Submarine, yeah, someone was after shouting at there. He credited with inventing the submarine. He was born here in Liscannor, was fascinated with the sea. And then moved to America where he joined in with the US Navy. They developed the submarine. The first one he had that went under the water was called the Fenian Ram. And had a statue of him sitting in a submarine here in the town for many years, but they moved it indoors where they built a new visitor centre back in 2017. Out on the streets. See out through the front window, you'll see the signal tower down straight in front of us. That was built where Fort Moher stood, and that's where the cliffs start. That's called Hag's Head. Is Liscannor. On the far side, we'll go around it in a few minutes, is Lahinch. About 12 kilometres out from Lahinch is Doonbeg. the left-hand side there. But there's the right-hand side.
Yeah, look at
Fancy
that.
playing around in there.
Oh my gosh. There's a lot of golf balls lost in there.
Yeah,
Hard to get out.
that's challenging.
That's what he's saying. The guy on top of the hill, he's trying to find his.
That is extremely popular. A lot of people want to play it.
No. Maybe tired just walking to find your ball.
I would lose a lot of golf balls. There's a hole in the ground. There's a lot of people out there to do this kind of thing.
See, the sun, the heat is having an effect because not as green as it used to be. Burned. The clubhouse here. It's a famine graveyard. And the workhouse was over there on the right-hand side, in the middle here. There's a monument here on the left. I'm just going to pull in for a minute to let you see it. Shows a young boy knocking on what was meant to be the workhouse door, looking for help. On the other plinth, there's an image of a woman looking down on him. And that was his mother who had died the day before. The young boy was looking for help. And the two fists represents his father's anger towards Britain for what had happened here during the famine. That man's name was
crayfish down there doing the crawfish for. I don't know if they handle that. Looks like they cooked again.
you come out here on the main street. On the way through on the left-hand side, your bathrooms, two gift shops and a coffee shop and restaurant over on the right-hand side. And if you need anything for your rooms, just
Maybe that's the flag that everybody's flying. So what type of different county maybe?
So we're going to play a video of, that's very high. We're going to play a video of an Irish group called the High Kings. Yeah. Have you heard of them?
Is this a store?
Food store.
Have you heard of the Clancy Brothers?
Yeah, I heard of
Tommy
them.
Macon.
I heard of them.
A very famous folk group many years ago.
Heard of them.
And one of them is a son of the Clancy's, another is the son of one of the Fury Brothers, another famous folk band here. So it's the younger generation taking over. But they're good to travel the world. At the moment I think they're in Australia playing. We'll let them run and see what you think of them.
Catherine house tonight. It's a beautiful little place. All the rooms have names. Ours is called the Gwendolyn. Oh, hey there.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Coming to my abode.
Okay. This is our room. It's very pretty. This is an actual working phone. It's really pretty in here. This is
Dan's gonna get a cup of coffee.
yeah. I'm gonna show you the bathroom. Old-fashioned bathtub, modern shower.
Franny Panny.